Egypt to push for the deal that would include the release of hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge is in Tel Aviv.
A Hamas delegation returning to Cairo, CIA Director Bill Burns arriving there overnight. The U.S. with the Egyptians and Qataris pushing the process at a critical moment for people in Gaza and the families of those hostages, including, we believe, 5 Americans. The U.S. calling Israel's offer on the table generous, saying they've made important concessions.
The hush money trial of Donald Trump included testimony this week from former Trump top aide Hope Hicks, answering questions about efforts to keep negative stories.
All right, it is a semi, as far as the openings go. This is it's not super long, it's not short.
State will host events this weekend for fundraisers. That as he weighs possible running mates. ABC News contributing political correspondent Rachel Bates
says good. It's
one contender, though, may be out.
Christine Nome, South Dakota governor, she was actually considered a top frontrunner for this job, but then there was all this blowback when news came out that she brags in a new book that she shot her own dog. We reported yesterday that in the book she claimed to have met with the leader of North Korea. It turns out she actually didn't, so the Trump people are trying to make some distance with her right now.
Federal authorities filing a complaint charging Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife in a bribery and money laundering scheme, alleging the couple accepted some $600,000 dating back a decade from an energy company owned by Azerbaijan's government and a Mexican bank. ABC News contributor Sarah Isker has more.
Not only was he accepting bribery money, but he was doing it from a country antagonistic at times to the interests of the United States.
Cuellar maintains his innocence. You're listening to ABC News.
The U.S. Marshals Service says a Toledo man who was wanted for sex crimes against a minor is now in custody. 21-year-old Kevin Jordan is facing charges after he allegedly crawled through a bedroom window of a home and proceeded to have sex with a minor. Jordan was found Thursday morning at a home on Josephine Court in Monroe and was taken into custody. Pro-Palestinian protests continue at Case Western Reserve University despite an order Thursday night from the university's president to break up the occupation.
CWRU President Eric Kaler told the demonstrators earlier this week that their tents could stay up as long as people not associated with the university left at night. Since some protesters did not follow those rules, the protesters have all been told to leave. That came out Thursday night. However, a university spokesman says those protesters are still there. CWRU saying there will be no intervention as long as the demonstration remains peaceful. I'm Jack Crumley.
Lawyers for a Claremont County man charged in the killing of his 3 sons are asking that the death penalty not be an option. Chad Doerman is charged with multiple counts of murder for the shooting deaths of his children, ages 3, 4, and 7, in the front yard of the family's Monroe Township home last June. Doerman recently pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to all of his charges. His lawyers are asking that the court exclude the death penalty if Doerman is convicted, saying that he had a serious mental illness at the time of the shootings. A Cincinnati woman has pleaded guilty to charges involving a 2-year-old victim. Prosecutors say that on March 30th of 2023, the victim had soiled her diaper and that LaShondra Walters placed the child in a bath with water temperatures in excess of 120 degrees. The child was injured to the point of requiring multiple surgeries and skin grafting. Walters has pleaded guilty to charges including endangering children and been sentenced to a term of 7 to 10.5 years in prison. I'm Andy Betts.
Your latest news, traffic, and weather.
If you're not informed, then you're out of the loop.
All you have to do is ask.
Play 610 WTVN on iHeartRadio.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to spring into deals at Lowe's. Get 3 19.3-ounce vegetable and herbs Bonnie packs for $10. Lowe's knows spring. Offer valid through 5/15 and store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii while supplies last.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
You depend on your roof to keep you safe from all sorts of extreme weather. That's why with Fiesel, you get quality and integrity every time we build a new roof, including the best in the industry lifetime warranty on all labor and materials. No guesswork, no gimmicks, just solid craftsmanship. The details matter. That's why you hire Fiesel. Go to FieselInc.com and get $1,000 off your next roof. That's FieselInc.com. Some restrictions apply.
Today I am happy to deliver a message of hope. Now, before you think I went all soft on you, I still think the country's in real trouble. And Franklin County, honestly, it's gone. I don't think it's coming back anytime soon. Just the facts, but a discussion, though, for another day. Today I am here to tell you there is still hope. Hope for our country and hope that the next generation, one that has experienced pandemics and riots, unrest and uncertainty, there is still hope in the next generation of young Americans. I say this not because I woke up and forgot what we've preached on this show for the last 3 years, or I've overlooked the useful idiots protesting for whatever sign someone stuck in their hands, but I say it because I've seen it with my own eyes. This Sunday, the youngest namesake of LEPD, Luke, will be getting his college diploma in Ohio Stadium as his proud family watches. My hope comes from Luke and many of his friends who in their short years have persevered and endured. They have missed high school graduations and proms and final ball games. They studied remotely and isolated at times, certainly not the college experience I remembered, but many, like Luke, have learned much more than what they read in textbooks. They've learned to navigate an unstable world at times, and they did so all with the passion to succeed and chase a dream. Talk about passion. I knew at the age of 10, Luke was going to be fine. Of course, all parents think that their own child is going to be perfect, but his passion, his obsession was different. And to this day, he has never let it go. Growing up in a household where both of his grandparents worked at Port Columbus, his obsession for airplanes and flying started early. When he was not quite old enough to have a remote control plane, his dad, pretty cool guy, bought one and bought an extra remote. For the first year, Luke actually thought he was flying it until he realized Dad had not put batteries in the controller. Soon after, he was flying it himself, and later on in middle school actually made it to the next level for his science fair project by doing an elaborate experiment about how these remote control planes take off and how much distance it takes to land. The fascination never stopped, and by the time he entered high school, his entire room was turned into a flight simulator. Now, we're not talking about some cartoon-like video game. He saved and he purchased software, scenery, and control modules that truly made the experience realistic. It looked, felt, and sounded like you were flying into JFK or LAX. Really a neat setup. For me, I would sit in the seat and see if I could take off or land. Luke, though, wanted it as real as possible, yelling at me every time I tried a barrel roll in a 737. I remember times he'd be doing a flight from Columbus to Miami on the simulator, and instead of taking off and then fast-forwarding to the landing like I would do, he sat there in the homemade cockpit for 2 hours and 35 minutes, the full duration of the flight. You start to see why I never worried about him chasing a dream. We knew, as did he, what he wanted to be in life. When the time came to get his license, well, that went something like this. We scheduled a test flight in a Cessna with an instructor to see if he could handle being in a very small plane. Before we took off, the instructor asked Luke what he knew about planes, and it didn't take long for Luke to talk the lingo of a pilot. And as I sat in the back, I was surprised to hear the instructor ask Luke if he wanted to try his hand at a takeoff. Sworn to silence in the back seat, it was all supposed to be about him that day, I sat and watched him accelerate down the runway and up over Sawmill Road, just like he had done 100 times before. Soon, flying over farmlands, the instructor allowed Luke to bank left and then bank right and had him performing maneuvers that I had seen him do in that room time and time again. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was not without being nervous because I had also seen him try and land on 270 in that room, attempt a water landing like Sully in that room, and then there was the one time he tried to put it down on Bethel Road in that room. On a side note, Cardell also saw some of those attempts to try non-conventional landings on his simulator and still refuses to this day to get in a real plane with them. But now, as Luke grinned ear to ear, he was all business. no longer a child behind a desk. At the end of the flight trial, where Luke did 90% of the landing as well, the instructor looked at him and said much of what he had just done would have passed for his check ride to get his license. Luke got his pilot's license shortly thereafter and has been flying long hours ever since to get to that magic number to be able to fly for the airlines. We are so happy and proud of him for having such passion, for having foresight, and for giving us all hope that as much as we see many of the younger generation lost or misguided, there are just as many Lukes who do things the right way, never get into trouble, and who will lead the next generation of this country. Congratulations, kid. We're proud of you and know you will always succeed in whatever you set out to accomplish. And for Cardell, there will be a day in the not-so-distant future where you board that plane, sit back in your seat and hear, "Good morning, I am Captain Luke, and I will be your pilot today." Congratulations to Luke, Stephen, Murphy, Sammy, and all the other graduates. You've all worked hard, and tomorrow is your day.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. I'm your host, Eric. My father, Phil, is listening in the car, but I have here right beside me my good friends, Chuck and Ed. Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah, if you're going to get all mushy about everything, I'm going home.
I ain't getting no mushy.
Mush.
No, it ain't no mush.
Mush.
No mush here.
Mush.
Look who's talking.
Mush.
Grandkids got you by their little
yes,
finger.
Yes, they absolutely do. I understand every word you just said.
Yep. And I got JC on the phone with us as well. How are you doing there, JC?
I am doing well, and I'm so proud of Luke. I just really am. I mean, you've raised an exceptional young man, so he's got a great future ahead of him.
Yep, pretty good kid. It's funny because we were going back and thinking of some of the stories, and it truly was. I mean, he would just spend hours and hours and hours flying real time in the simulator. I'm like, well, can't you just like fast forward to the good? I mean, you look at all the screens in front of him, and it's just clouds. I'm like, What are you doing?
His name is Luke. Didn't he have like a Death Star simulator?
I don't know. And I would try to get him to fly all these, it was the basic plane and stuff. Super neat, though. I mean, he actually went on. A buddy of ours was into, flight simulators as just for fun. And he lets Luke set one up for him with very little budget in mind, and Luke just built a beautiful. I mean, we're talking really looked like you were in a plane flying it. So super neat, super excited, and I know he will do well. Well, guys, we are the owners of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility and are active in law enforcement. But for 1 hour on Saturdays, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. Our commitment, though, has always been to bring you the facts about our industry and ultimately help listeners, customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms. Guys, we wanted to start by thanking our good friend Joe from Daniel Defense, who jumped on with us last week. Great company, good people. It was kind of neat, too. Oftentimes when we bring people on the show from these different companies, they send their marketing person and their person that's all polished and perfect, and they don't allow their reps to talk. Daniel's different. I mean, Joe is our rep, and when I said, hey, can we get someone to come on the show? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And I said, they let you do that? Well, yeah. I mean, we have nothing to hide. We're a good company, solid company. So it just kind of goes to show the character of that company. So we thank him again, and if you ever need Daniel Defense products, we have them here. Today, I wanted to update you on one more piece of information as related to marijuana and firearms that we learned this week. And then JC's going to take it from there, give us some news. But at 12:30, you ready for this, Chuck? We're going to talk guns.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
We've been talking about this estate sale for a couple weeks now. We opened it up about a week and a half ago. We've sold a bunch of them, but there are still some really, really, really neat ones left, and I want to talk about them specifically because I'm excited about them, but also because shortly here we're going to start putting them out there on Gunbroker and some of those auction places, and I want people to, locally get a chance at them here before we put them out there. So we're going to go through some of these and see if there's any that you can't live without. And I sent all the pictures to JC. I'm sure he was just enthralled. You still going through them all, JC?
Yeah, you said we're going to talk about all these. It's hard to even name all of them within a half an hour, let alone talk about them. But there's some just absolutely outstanding. I mean, this guy had a incredible collection. There's no sleepers in the group. That's really excellent firearms.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them haven't been produced for 25, 30 years, and they're like new, and it's just they're great. They're just great.
And a lot of them still have the original boxes. They have the original receipts when we bought it.
I think you just bought them to look at them. I mean, you showed them to us a few weeks ago when you first got them in. Those things don't look like they've ever been handled. I mean, it's much less fire. They look pristine.
Yeah, I know. So I've been sitting them out, looking at them outside my office for 2 weeks now. So this is actually self-serving because the more I sell, the less that I'm apt to look at for myself. Although that brings up another point, Chuck. This week's my birthday. So if you see something that you're like, hey, that'd be really nice for Eric's birthday, I'm just saying. So if there's ever a time.
I already got you that Yoko Ono CD.
As much as I do appreciate that. So, guys, where are we at here? Okay, so I'd like to thank our sponsors, actually, for helping put this on each week. Jackson Egress Windows, Blackwing Shooting Center, Rivers Edge Cutlery, CNS Engraving, and LAPD Training Facility, all who make the show possible. Speaking of Blackwing, they're having a sidewalk sale today. Probably worth checking out. It looked kind of neat. I went to their, I think I came over to Facebook, and there's a lot of neat things there, too. So after you get them coming here, make a little trip up there and check out their sidewalk sale. I'm not sure if it goes on tomorrow as well, but it's definitely there today. Joining me today in the LAPD studios, JC is on the line, calling in. He will be back with us next week in person. But, of course, I have little Chuck Douglas right here and Big Ed, both who are always good to see. Ed, I worked with your son this week again.
Well, that's great.
What a nice young man. It's
hard to believe he's my son. I know.
You said it, not me, but yeah, I mean, really, he's a good guy.
Hey, well, thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we always have fun together. If you missed the show, you can always catch the podcast. It's at 610WTVN.com, iHeartRadio, iTunes, not on Facebook. I don't know what those ding-dongs are doing, but we have not been able to get this feed to go live on Facebook now for the last 2 weeks. It is live on YouTube. And we're going to try it again this week and see if we get it up and running. I'm not sure what I don't know. Maybe we're on some list now or something, but we are not live on Facebook. That's okay. YouTube gives us some more flexibility.
Somebody probably turns you in and said, oh, no guns, violence, bad people.
I know. All of a sudden it stopped.
Yeah.
So not sure what that is. So, JC, it is up to you now. Let's see. We got about 2 minutes before a break. You got about a 2-minute story there?
Well, 2-minute story. We got some fun ones, but also, so the National Shooting Sports Foundation just released their NICS background checks. This is what you need to purchase a firearm at a gun dealer. They released them for April, and once again, there were over 1 million firearms sold in April. Over 1.2 million. Well, what's important about this? This marks the 57th month in a row that has exceeded 1 million background checks for the purchase of a firearm. I mean, 50, and some of the months were over 2 million, approaching 3 million back in the COVID times. But even when the President Biden promises increased gun control and he wants to take them away from you, millions of Americans choose to lawfully purchase and keep firearms of their choosing. So I'm glad to hear that. Hey, here's one that I think that you guys there would probably be very interested in. Al Capone, I mean, he had a lot of sweethearts, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he did die of tertiary syphilis after all. But one of his sweethearts is still alive, and believe it or not, it's up for sale. Al Capone's personal firearm that he called Sweetheart is on the auction block, and will be up for sale on May 18th of this year at Richmond Guns. When his son passed away, his son was named Sonny. How about that for originality? The piece was auctioned off in 2021, but now it's back on the auction block. So this is really different. The Sweetheart is an engraved 3-digit serial number, Colt 1911, old 45 ACP. It had some factory custom upgrades, front strap check ring, stag grips, extended safety controls, high-profile adjustable sights. Now, these are common today, but back when they made these in 15 with 3-digit serial number was probably a 1912. These are the man was ahead of his time. So if you're interested, and I know you guys are, open up your wallets. Bidding begins at $500,000, and the estimate is $2 to $3 million. for Al Capone's sweetheart.
Wow,
So
that even
that
exceeds
one's
my
coming up.
birthday wishes.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Well, JC, let's jump to a quick break so we can get back on the other side. We have a caller on hold, and we also have more news to get to. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Farms Range. We'll be back right after the break.
The Marketplace.
Which one of you chickens are doing weather?
I don't care. You want to do it?
Ed's been doing good.
Yeah.
Do you see? I got him
Seems
last
to
week.
have some joy
like
out of
last
this.
week, though. Did you hear last week, Chuck?
No.
I got him because right before we were making fun of Biden with pause. So right before they did his thing, and I said, "State weather now," and he laughed. Never got through it.
You're mean to him.
You better put the temperature in there.
I thought he was doing it.
Oh my word!
1 minute.
1 minute.
What's the temperature outside?
I hope that's a serious valuation for that gun because it sounds like Geraldo might have done it.
Mm-hmm. I know. Seriously.
Al Capone's gun.
And seriously. 71 there, Edward.
But with clouds, it doesn't feel like 71. It's very cool driving in with the cloudy
Does
skies.
it feel a little humid, though?
You writing any slow driving tickets? Here
You
we
know
go
what?
again.
You know what? I remind me to tell you a story because I did get behind someone this week, and they were going like 10 on Bethel Road.
Yes.
And then they stopped and get out of their car to come back to me. I'm like, what are you doing? And then their car wouldn't start again. Whole other story. Edward, how much time there, Ella?
15 seconds.
Edward, 15 seconds to get it straight. You read through it again.
15 seconds, Ed.
I am going to turn the other way so I don't mess him up today.
Also might help with his digestion.
Yes.
Your ABC first warning weather today, mainly overcast with scattered showers and thunderstorms. High of 76. Tonight, mostly cloudy, scattered and showers with thunderstorms, low of 63. Sunday, mostly scattered showers, thunderstorms, high of 79. It's currently 71 on your severe weather, News 10 Radio, 610 WTVM. And I'm sick of this rain.
Columbus's place to talk. News Radio 610 WTVN.
It was a lot better, Ed. I appreciate you cutting it short by leaving out ABC 6.
I said that.
You said ABC. Wasn't bad. Welcome back to OnTarget. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LEPD studios. I got little Chuck Douglas sitting right here. I got Big Ed. JC's on the live line. We have a caller as well. Let's jump right to the caller. Hi, you're on with OnTarget.
Hello. Nobody's there.
That's your cue, Papa.
I think he done took a nap.
Yeah, it's probably eating a donut.
All right. Going once, going twice.
I mean, I'm just going to leave it on, and when he gets here, he gets here.
That's when he wakes up, yes. So, JC, let's, instead of going to the call, what's that, JC?
No, I was just saying, that sounds like Papa. So, he'll come on later.
Yep, when he's ready. JC, it is all you. What's going on?
Okay, and I've got to give some kudos again to our very illustrious Attorney General Dave Yost. He actually made the National Shooting Sports Foundation with a picture for a news story, so that was kind of good. I was very proud of that. But their 26 state attorney generals are now suing the ATF over President Biden's engaged in the business rule. You don't realize how far-fetching this rule could go. This could literally make anybody who wants to sell one of their firearms to somebody say, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to be a federal firearms licensed dealer, which is not like picking up a fishing license. It is an incredible matriculation, but this is what they want to do. So anyway, he's one of the 26 Republican state attorneys. They filed 3 separate suits, one against the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, one against the Department of Justice, and one against administration officials for this engaged in the business. Now, what you don't understand, when they had this Bipartisan Safety Act, which is considered to be a hallmark on the Biden administration efforts to control guns and take them away from you, like 1,100 pages, and they changed one word. Of course, probably nobody saw that word except the people who put it in. And that one word, is engaged in business, would require nearly all private firearm sellers to obtain a federal firearms license to transfer your firearms. So anyway, they've filed, Dave Yost and the 26 other attorney generals have filed arguing that the rule is unconstitutional because it circumvents Congress, that another bureaucracy that they want to make criminals out of millions of citizens just by changing one word that nobody saw in this Bipartisan Safety Act. So that's one of the big rules that's coming out, and this will go into effect on the 20th of this month. So if they have agents someplace and they see somebody at any gun show selling a gun, hey, it's my dad's gun, and here it is, and yes, you're allowed to have it, but what? Wait a minute, you don't have a federal firearms license, technically? They could arrest you, and there you go. I mean, this is how serious this is. He's also, you got his picture there in the National Shooting Sports Foundation website. He's one of 19 state attorney generals, and he kind of is the leader in this. So it said Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost and 18 other attorney generals are opposing a new federal program that promotes aggressive enforcement. This is the Red Flag Resource Center. So this is about red flag laws where people can just make a complaint against you. They come and take everything away you have there's no adjudication. It could all be false. You don't know, but they come in and take it. So anyway, but they're starting a center. So he said that the problem is, in the suit, that his quote was, the trouble is that nothing in the Bipartisan Safety Communities Act authorizes the department to take, to be established in the first place, and the funding is supposed to go to states and local government to oversee these programs, but instead the federal government's sucking up all the money and creating something that it's not even written that they can do. So anyway, they're suing in that regard. Another story that I thought was really pretty interesting was this is pretty amazing. This is what happens to a nation where everybody is disarmed. The Guardian News in the United Kingdom reported that just on last Sunday, a critical incident occurred where a man crashed his car into a van, but then got out with a short sword and began to slash, hack, and stab people at random. He killed a 14-year-old boy. Then he slashed 4 other people, including and he seriously wounded 2 police officers. Well, the problem was, after the police arrived, it took 22 minutes to subdue it because the police aren't allowed to have firearms. So there they are, unarmed, facing a guy with a sword. And finally, after 22 minutes, a female officer showed up who had a stun gun and tasered the person, and that ended it. But really, 22 minutes with police around, and nobody has a firearm.
Wow. JC, did you see, though, on a good note, now we don't oftentimes give our president credit. There has to be something good he's doing.
What did he do?
President of what?
There has to be JC, I heard that the uniter in chief here, the one who said he's going to bring them together, he actually united groups that are just fierce enemies of each other this week.
Right. They had no common ground, but he did unite them. That's absolutely correct. In the University of Alabama, they had demonstrations that have been going around the campus. One group was pro-Israel, and one group was pro-Hamas. And you would think that they would not find a common ground. I mean, after all, but they did in this case. That the pro-Hamas folks started yelling, "F Joe Biden," which immediately was responded by the pro-Israel groups going, F Joe Biden. And according to the Crimson Herald, the University of Alabama newspaper, they said, nothing beats the sweet restraints of a patriotic melody. And the best part is that each side waited for the other to complete their excoriation of the president and let the other side go. So this went back and forth, and lo and behold, Joe Biden has unified the country against him.
Wow.
And on that day, an angel got his wings.
That's right. Guys, let's jump to the bottom of the hour break on that note. When we come back, we're going to talk about some firearms, maybe a little bit more news, a little bit of an update on medical marijuana cards and what that means to gun ownership. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range. We'll be back right after the news.
Find your ride.
Ella, what happened to Pawpaw?
What happened to Ella?
He eventually hung up. I don't know.
I texted him. I told him to call back right now.
So the Fed's moving marijuana from a Schedule 1. How's that going to affect the purchasing?
So I don't know.
They're not doing it, are they?
They
say they're going. They're talking about it.
Trying.
So
administration's trying.
So a couple things on it. I mean, part of it, but then they come back and say, well, this is not legalizing it. Well, I mean, that there's no prohibition about buying a gun if you're on Oxycontin
or whatever,
right, or some other schedule.
If you're making it the same category as an antibiotic or a steroid, then there's no reason you should not be able to say, yes, I use medical marijuana.
Right, if that is the case. Now, here's a little twist to it that I read, is that if they make it a Schedule 3 drug, like an Oxycontin, I think is Schedule 3, or some of those other, pain reliefs that have things on it. Schedule. What's a Schedule 3? That's
Tylenol.
No.
5.
Tylenol with codeine. There you go.
Tylenol 5.
So yes. So there they said if they do make it that, then these dispensaries might be subject to some of the same recording and paperwork that a pharmacy is, because then it's like a prescription for it, and so they might have to abide by all kinds of stuff like you would have to as a pharmacy.
Think about why that is. Big picture.
Mm-hmm.
We drop it down. Suddenly they can do banking. We have accurate records of their financing, and we can collect more taxes.
Of course,
that's exactly why.
And guess what votes we pick up?
You think that's the only reason why?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks
for finally moving over, by the way.
I like to be close to you. You keep me warm.
Cramming me up there. Eric,
you bring up my inner woman.
I know. You used to be in the pharmaceutical industry, and you don't know scheduled drugs.
I know, but I just don't know which ones go and what. I mean, I obviously know the Ritalins and the Schedule 2s and the Schedule 1s, but I don't. Sometimes those 3 and 4 and 5 get a little iffy. Isn't that right, Tom?
How would he know? Are you a pharmacist, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
he's a pharmacist. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it all goes by.
I heard that even if the government did want to change it, it's going to take probably up to 3 years to get it done, anyways.
Well, that's so it can happen after he's out of office.
Well, sure.
He can't get blamed for anything.
The only thing he's going to get blamed for is being an idiot. Are you texting somebody important there? How much time, ma'am?
It's Ella.
20 seconds.
I like M. Ella. Hey, Ella.
17, 16, 15 seconds.
Ella.
It does have a nice sound to it.
It's my paisan girl.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LAPD studios. I got Little Chuck, I got Big Ed, I got JC on the live line. And guys, before we go, and for the couple of housekeeping items, we just put out some bulk 9mm this week. So we're not seeing it. I don't anticipate putting it out very often going forward, just because of how it's starting to get a little bit difficult for us to get it in bulk to be able to sell it. There's still a few cases of bulk 223, so if you're in the market for that, that is still here. Next week, U.S. Law Shield has their self-defense seminar here on 5/15. I don't know if there's any openings left, but it's definitely worthwhile going to U.S. Law Shield's website and signing up if you haven't done so already. Last thing, medical marijuana cards. Something we had talked about it a couple weeks ago with Bob Meter, and it came up that the mere possession of a medical marijuana card is that a prohibiting factor when it goes to purchasing a firearm. And we did some digging around, talked to the ATF, and it come to find out it is, according to the ATF. They sent out a guidance a few years back, and they said the mere possession of a medical marijuana card prohibits you from being able to purchase a firearm. They went on to say that if they run across or if it becomes known to authorities that you have a medical marijuana card, that information can be put in the NICS database, and it will be to make it disqualify you at the point of sale. So,
but if it becomes known after it's made a Schedule 3 instead of a Schedule 1, then you have all sorts of HIPAA violations, and the lawsuits will come from the rafters.
It's a mess. Yeah, it is. It's just as if we have nothing better, to deal with. Maybe if the country was in a good condition right now, we can say, okay, let's take this on. But it has nothing but mess, all over it and stuff. So guys. The estate sale, we put it out a couple weeks ago. There are still some really, really neat things left. So I thought we'd go down there. I'm going to throw a gun out to JC, let him give us a one-liner on it, and maybe it's something.
Is there a pool? Because I'd like to get in the
pool. JC, they don't think
I'll take the over.
You hearing them all give you grief, JC?
No, him and Paul went and got a sandwich.
He's gonna make me lose already.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Yeah, I said you didn't specify the length of the line. I can give a one-liner.
That's true. I've seen you give big one-liners. So, JC, let's start out with something just nice, simple, solid. We have here Smith & Wesson 629-3. It's a stainless steel 6-inch barrel gun and 44 Magnum with the original box. Pretty neat gun.
You just cannot beat. A Model 29, whether it's a 629 or just the same Model 29. They're incredible. Stainless, and what more can you say? The original, the 44 Magnum that Smith came up with, and it is incredible revolvers. Incredible revolvers.
Do you feel
you can
lucky?
hunt with them. You can load them down. You can shoot 44 specials in them. Fantastic gun. It's beautiful. You should just see it.
Yeah, it is. And this one, again, is kind of like new in the box. I think it has the original receipt with it as well. All right, JC, let's jump to one of my favorite ones. It actually happens to be sitting here on the desk. It is a Colt Series 80 National Match Gold Cup with adjustable trigger, original box, and it's in nickel. Is that worthwhile, JC?
The nickels are actually kind of rare now. In the old days, they used to be popular, but I actually stopped making nickel guns and just have polished, polished stainless steel now. It just wasn't worth the companies making them. So I think that pretty much have really, really diminished making the nickel ones. But gold cups, at one time I owned 3 at the same time, and they're just one of my absolute favorite. If you like 1911s, you just can't do better than a gold cup. I know the triggers on them are just exceptional because they're match 45s. Not that they can't be used for home defense, but it's the premier Colt 45.
So, JC, and this is a question. This one has the adjustable trigger on it. Is that how they all work? I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, they have trigger stops. So when you pull the trigger, when it breaks, it just stops, and you can adjust that. So as you're pulling it, it basically is kind of like a set screw. And when you pull it, you want it just to go off with no over travel. So your next shot will be right there on spot. And that's they all the firearms have that. The competitives like Wilson Combat and Les Bear and all of them have trigger stops on there so that you can adjust. Makes a difference in competition shooting.
Yeah, that is certainly, and if we're going to talk about Colt 1911 National Match Gold Cups, we actually have a second one too that is in blue. That is, I don't know why I tend to gravitate towards that, but it is super sharp. Doesn't have the original box with it, but it is still, excellent condition and gorgeous.
Excellent plus condition, and honestly, I like that trigger better than I did on the other one. So I think I told you, I said, boy, if I had to have one of these, I said, this is just a sweetheart. I like stainless guns, I like nickel, but this gun is a sweetheart. It looks new.
It does. So, JC, the guys here, of course, jumping ahead, picking up guns off the counter. But there is one that they're both. You guys can talk now.
I thought this was the 44 you were talking about a minute ago.
I well did as well, because there's no stainless one up there.
So, JC, they are looking at. What are they looking at here?
It's a 41 mag. I've never heard of
let me read it here so I can get JC going on.
That's a the 657.
That is a 657. It is again a 6.5-inch barrel on this one. I'm not sure. I don't think this one has the original box. Oh no, it does. Has the original box.
It does have the box with it. Yeah, it has a box with it, and it has the unfluted cylinder.
Unfluted. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
So JC, they were all perplexed. Talk a little bit about the 41 Magnum.
Oh, it was one of my favorites. It's just slightly under the 44 Magnum. And with these, but it's an excellent gun. You can hunt polar bear with them. I mean, they really are a fabulous gun. And so the 41 Magnum came out after the 44. 44 came out in 56, and this was a later model. But I had one in 8 3/8-inch barrel, and it was they're incredibly accurate. A little less powerful than the 44, but you can still hunt anything with it that you do with the 44. So. Originally, they came out with the cartridge because they wanted to download it, and they wanted it to be a superior police revolver. And then they so it can shoot lesser powerful cartridges, but it's just an excellent hunting gun. It's terrific. It's beautiful. I love the grips on it too. So I'm looking at it right now, and just a great gun.
It's neat. It's
a little rare, yeah. It's because it's 41 Magnum,
ammo?
but the cartridge is exceptional.
Yeah,
you can. Yeah.
And JC, talk about the ammo. We still have it. I mean, we still have, and it will shoot 41 special as well.
Yes.
So you can still get it.
But it's really an excellent cartridge. People who really know that it's an excellent cartridge. It's one of those things that you hear about stereos and I never heard of that one before. But it's a cut above. But it's just because they don't make as many of them. But excellent cartridge, and I love mine. I loved it. I'm sorry I had to sell it. So it was a fabulous cartridge.
I can't see an intention of having police officers wearing that in a side holster and walking sideways the rest of their life. That weighs a lot.
That one is heavy, and that has a longer barrel. I mean, they have actually had it in shorter barrels as well. But yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Got one on me because I've never heard of a 41.
Yep.
It was just like the Model 28, which you have. They had one that was more plain Jane with not adjustable sights on it for officers, but it was a real stopper. Let's face it.
So JC, let's talk.
One-shot stopping.
You mentioned the Model 28.
Yeah, one of my other favorites. Because I like the Model 27. That's my favorite Smith & Wesson revolver of all. And this was just the plain Jane version. It didn't have the high polish finish, but they actually had this for highway patrol officers.
And that's the name of it.
A few states, they actually had them. That came in 6-inch barrel. 2 states, I think, adopted the 6-inch barrel, which is a real. Better have a Sam Brown belt to hold that thing up. But it's quality. When you look at the cylinder size, it's a 357 Magnum, but it looks like it could hold a 50 Smith. It's a really thick cylinder, and you could really load those puppies up. And I know it was short-lived because they switched to automatics, and it was a heavy gun, but what a quality lifetime gun, built like a bank vault. Just excellent. So that's the difference in Model 27.
It is a heavy
all
gun.
the bells and whistles.
And what's neat about this one, JC,
357.
this one is in the original 2-piece Smith & Wesson box. I mean, this is, I have to say, this one almost didn't leave my office. I mean, it is really sharp, and it's heavy. I mean, it is not a light firearm. And you think back in the day when this is, the officers were carrying these on their side.
And the one that we have does have adjustable sights, and the finish is more high polished than that were given to the police departments, because we had a more matte finish, but ours is it's absolutely just gorgeous. It looks so much like a Model 27, except for the checkering on the rib that they had, but excellent superior revolver.
So, JC, before we go into a break here, let's talk about one that's a little bit, I kind of put these next two in a class together, and I never had, these had no appeal to me personally, but talk it up. One is the Remington, and it's not sitting out here, but it's the Remington XP 100 in 223.
Yeah. Well, Remington, they wanted, matter of fact, the XP 100, XP stood for experimental, and when they were trying to get a very long-range pistol, it was the 100th one that they came up with, and that's where it got the name XP 100, WD-40, the 41 they tried. And it is a bolt-action pistol that is meant for extreme accuracy, and it came in pretty much rifle calibers. And it was used in silhouette shooting, which was really big in the 80s. But as far as hunting goes, it's a really excellent gun. And what I like about ours is the one that we have is in 223, so it could be a companion gun. And if you wanted to do some varmint shooting out to like 100 meters or even fine with pinpoint accuracy, it's just an extremely accurate gun. So yeah, stopped making those back in '88. They started in '63. I don't know our serial number, but anyway, they're excellent firearms. And they're rare. Yeah.
And again, the one we have, JC, correct me if I'm wrong. The stock on this, it looks almost like a nylon 88. Is it a synthetic type stock?
66. Yeah.
Nylon 66.
Zytel was the plastic that they came up with that is extremely durable when they came out with the nylon 66 and 77 series and the 22 rifles, but it was so impervious. There's so many. It was lightweight and very, very rigid. And Zytel was the type of nylon that it's made out of. So that's what they use. So this came out when you say '63 is when it came out. They kept that stock, and the grip is, I won't say it's in the middle of it, but it's toward the end, so the bolt hangs out over the back for more balance. But yeah, and they even use that diamond on that looks just like a 22. Came in so many different calibers that I couldn't even name them. I bet they were just all over the board, and you could get special orders. But it's extremely accurate, really, really fun to shoot, and collector's item because they stopped making them 26 years ago, and Remington does not exist anymore as a company per se. So yeah.
And this one, JC, again, with the original box, an optic on it, a bipod. I mean, really, it's a neat setup for those who are into the
long-range shooting with accuracy. So.
Yep. Last one, JC, before we go into a break. This one, again, it's super neat. Has all the original boxes. The Thompson Contender. It's another pistol, more of a longer-range pistol. This one comes with 4 different barrels. So it's a single shot. You simply change out the barrels. It has a 223 barrel, a 22 long rifle barrel, a 357 rim mag barrel, and a 17 rim barrel, I believe. Does that sound right, JC?
Yeah, and this is also, they haven't made these in about 25 years. I think 2000 was the last year that they made these. It's 14-inch, and again, the guy who owned this is his collection. He was really into long-range precision shooting, and these are still used in competition today. It has, again, 4 different calibers, and when you think of the calibers, people don't realize, a lot of people don't know what they are. Like the 17, one of them is the 17 Remington, which is a neck down to 17 caliber. So you get over 4,000 feet per second out of a 17 caliber bullet. It's like a laser, and it's just extremely accurate for long range, especially out of a 14-inch barrel. One of them is the 357 Maximum, and people go, what the heck is that? It's like a third of an inch longer than a 357 Magnum, and it was designed so at 200 meters, it had the same velocity at 200 meters as a regular 357 did at the muzzle. So,
wow.
So, I mean, it is extremely long out. You can hunt with it. It's incredible. And then one is a straight 223, and then when your hand gets tired of all those big boomers, one's a 22 long rifle, which would probably be my favorite to shoot on a regular basis. Very, very accurate. They're break action, so you squeeze the trigger guard. It's got a little piece that hangs down for your finger, but you squeeze it, and it drops open like a shotgun, and you load them single shot at a time. But what an incredibly accurate gun, and we have all the boxes for these, and it just looks like new. And again, haven't made them in years.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Chuck, you see, you guys.
And ours looks like new.
You guys seen anything here? You.
I saw that nickel plating go back over on your side of the table and not go back out on display. Is what I saw.
No, I'd let you handle it. Now I've been looking at it for like, what? It gets to a point. Yeah, I mean, I got too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I have not purchased anything.
Would you actually shoot it?
No.
That's the problem. That is a showpiece. That's something. If I threw the money at it, would be to sit and look at. I could never fire that gun because it's too pretty.
I know, but it's meant to be. I mean, it's
it's meant to be.
Yeah, but I'm your same way. I mean, I got same things I have in drawers and that I just don't fire. Yeah. So, But, JC, let's jump to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Colt rifle that's in this collection. You ever seen one of those, Chuck? We're not talking about an AR, although there is one in there, too. But a Colt rifle in this collection and a couple more things. We're on Target Broadcast Live from the studios of LEPD Farms and Range. We'll be back right after the break.
The 1,000.
Got a minute and a half.
JC, have some kind of fit there at the end? What was that?
I think you're just talking.
I don't know. I didn't go.
Hey, Edward, let me see that one there real quick. That $3,000.
I don't know where these numbers come from, but
it's right there.
No, you're a funny guy.
They made 300 of them. This is a brand new gun.
What's so special
It's
about
a government model, case colored. It's called the Vintage Edition. This is number 104 out of 300. Stag grips.
Doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not for that kind of money.
I was taking up a collection to buy for you for your birthday.
I bet you were not.
Oh, not now.
You weren't to begin with. You're telling a story as usual.
I'm assuming your Delta rep is pretty happy with you.
About what?
About the fact that you managed to sell out all the ARs they had.
The who? The what now?
Your ARs. You had the Delta ARs for $4.99.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got them all sold. I'm impressed.
Yeah. But I tell you, I mean, we're having a hard time getting stuff. At those prices. I mean, prices, yeah.
It's a decent gun. I've got one.
Absolutely.
5 seconds.
All right, Edward.
Your ABC 6 first warning weather. Today, mainly overcast with scattered showers, thunderstorms tonight with a high of 76. Tonight, mostly cloudy, scattered showers, thunderstorms with a low of 63. Sunday, mostly flat, scattered showers, and a thunderstorm with a high of 79. It's currently 71 on your severe weather station news 610 WTVN.
Today's guests and callers are heard on the LegacyRetirementGroup.com phone lines on News Radio 610 WTVN.
What's the matter, Chuck?
We'll talk after.
Welcome back to OnTarget. I'm here with Eric Joy today in the LEPD studio. I got Big Ed, Little Chuck, JC on the live line, Pawpaw listening on the radio. JC, we have about 4 minutes left and 27 guns to get to.
I knew that was going to be the problem. Like I said, it's hard to name them all, let alone talk about them.
Right, so I'm going to tee up a couple that I think are really neat. This one here that I have in front of me, I'm going to throw this in on you, JC, because I did not give this one to you. This is actually a new gun. It's a new Colt that came in this week. It's a 1911. It's called a limited vintage edition. If you haven't seen this, this is incredible. Only 300 of them made. This is number 104 out of 300.
Wow.
Case coloring, stag grips. It is absolutely 100% gorgeous. The boys here said they don't care for it, but it's really, really neat.
That was part of the estate?
No, this is a new gun that just came in this week. That's kind of a hard to get thing. So,
yeah, they only made 300. Yeah, it's hard to get.
Yep. So that is here as well. JC, we're going to jump to the one that is probably one of my favorite guns out of this entire estate, and is still here for the moment. There is a Colt H-Bar, and this is an AR platform, early Colt. I think we said, what, JC, 78 or 79?
78. Yeah,
78. What is neat with this one is it has a scope on it. It has a little riser, so it has a carry handle that's not removable. It has a little riser, so you can put a scope on it. The riser is even marked Colt. It has a cheek rest that says Colt as well, and it has a Colt sling and an aluminum case that it all came in.
Does it say Colt on the case?
This is a really sought after item. Again, this is a pre-ban gun. Back when Clinton was in, they just decided that for some reason that some firearms that had certain features would be made more usable by criminals. And like just for example, the fact that it had a bayonet lug on it. Oh, yeah, or well, I don't know why I've never seen too many criminals with bayonets running around on rifles. But the flash hider could unscrew, so you could put a suppressor on or put another flash hider on. And for some reason, they just deemed, like the government does, that, hey, these should be banned because they're, more apt to be used by criminals, which is just BS. So these are pre-ban guns, and you're not allowed to make any of these after, I think it was in 89, I think it's when this came out, when this law came out. And so guns made before that now became, more valuable just because now they were banned. But this particular gun, this is a heavy barrel, the H-bar, but also the on the end, which means it's a Delta H-bar. So if you can remember the Jimmy Carter days, and we had Delta Force, that it was a failed attempt to rescue our Iranian hostages, but Delta came out, so it was a big, big name, and so they made this Delta H-bar. And it's got the carry handle, but they have a scope mount that fits under the top of the carry handle, and it's got Colt's rubberized scope that they had to make it waterproof, and the whole scope is rubberized. And this model did come with, it wasn't just an add-on, it came with this fitted aluminum case, and I've never actually seen one going to the gun shows. They're pretty rare. And then, of course, the Colt, to get your high cheek weld, so you could look at a scope that's mounted on top of the handle, Colt had a special installed at the factory, a cheek a piece, a cheek rest marked Colt. This whole thing, I mean, it honestly looks new. I mean, when I looked at it, I went, this is really, really different. So it's a 1978 pre-ban Delta Force marked Delta H-bar with all the accoutrements and sling, everything. It's a special. It's a special rifle.
And the thing, JC, when it came in, of course, these estate sales, there's a lot of parts and pieces and moving parts and pieces. And I didn't realize initially that we had all the parts and pieces to this. So we had an aluminum case that I thought it was just a random aluminum case until we opened it up and we see the label, the Colt label on it, and started doing some research. I'm like, well, this goes with that gun. And, we thought initially that the scope was something that was added on. But once we saw the number,
No matter where you are, Coughlin is there, in-store or online. CoughlinCars.com. 13 new car brands, over 1,000 pre-owned vehicles, 16 convenient locations for sales, service, and parts, plus 4 state-of-the-art collision centers. CoughlinCars.com. Shop locally owned, CoughlinCars.com. Coughlin has the car for you.
Hi, this is Tim Dye with Upward Home Solutions.
Okay, here we go.
If you've been thinking about selling your home,
this is Eric from OnTarget. This week, we take a moment to honor Police Memorial Week, and we have Lieutenant Governor John Husted joining us. Tune in right here Saturday at noon or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Getting our home sellers thousands more.
Tune in tomorrow at noon or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Easy as ever with absolutely no commissions or
fees. Tune in today at noon
Just
or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
To find out more, visit us at 614houses.com. Upward Home Solutions.
All right, thank you.
Home buyers.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds.